Why don't we play the clip? All right.
Sure.
Here's Brad Treliving when he was asked about the core four, and here was how he responded to that.
I want to, stress strongly. I'm not about coming in and making a statement, right? You can throw a body under the tarmac, and it might look good for a headline, but are you getting any better? At the end of the day, it's about getting better, and just being different doesn't necessarily make you better. The other thing I'll say on that is, and again, I'm coming in from an outside lens. This idea of the core four and all those types of things. My job is to protect them, right? It's to protect them. And I'm first fiercely protective of my players. But this can't be about the core four. This is about the Toronto Maple Leafs. It's not about 4 players, not about 2, it's not about 1. It's about the 23 guys that we're going to have in this organization.
But you're not opposed to it,
we will look at all things.
So here's the thing I want to ask him, okay? Because he did say we're going to look at all things. And that is totally reasonable. I think that's a smart play to come in here and try to effectively abolish a lot of the terminology and a lot of, what was connected to the Dubas era. And even prior to that, Lamoriello, because these guys were here even when Lou was here. Tavares notwithstanding, but he got here the first year Dubas got here. But if those 4 players are here, how can you're not going to change the way the market feels and the way the market looks at those 4 players.
And that's probably connected to ultimately results too, Brian. What do you expect? Some drastic things going to change come spring next year?
Well, and that's
Why would you?
Yeah. So, I get where Brad is coming from, but that I felt like was a message to the, the media and the fans almost as well. Like, let's get away from a core 4 thing. Let's get to a Leaf thing. That's just not going to happen if those 4 guys are all in the lineup opening night. Like, it's not. Everyone is attracted to those 4 players. The whole program has been built around those 4, catering to them, protecting them,
right.
and basically rolling the dice and saying, we believe they can drag us there. And it hasn't happened.
Well, so let me ask you, let me paint a picture for this, because I've been thinking about this too. Because you're right, the core 4, it's almost, and we've been saying it too. If they come back, then what's different? What's different from Kyle Dubas? What's different from Brendan Shanahan? Especially if Keefe, by all accounts, it looks like he's going to be back.
Door was open anyway,
right,
for possible change
right
there.
So let's just say the band comes back as far as those 4. Would it be different if there is a major move that changes your defense or your goaltending? Does that change your thought process? Like,
I was just going to mention, Jamie, the whole idea of the team and philosophy being different, the view from the fan base, and it's such a big ask, it's almost impossible. If you had some giant ads, like, let's say, if the goaltending was so drastically different, like a Hellebuck type of name came in, that would get people's attention where it's like, wow, now we finally got his stuff. I don't see that happening without one of the other guys going out the door. Well, like, they'd have no room or no ability to make an ad like that or make a drastic change without one of the other guys leaving.
Right. That's the truth. And
right.
I guess that's a core question that I came out of, this morning was looking ahead. If the Leafs have success, and again, this won't matter. The fans will not care necessarily, but in terms of Treliving, his legacy here, what he's trying to build. If you come back with those 4 players, Morgan Rielly, Sheldon Keefe, and they finally break through and have success, will this be Brad Treliving's team or will it be Kyle Dubas' team?
Well, I would say it's Brad Treliving, is because it's where the people that he surrounds them with. Because if he does build a team that has a stronger defensive situation as far as defense and bigger guys, all of that, or a goaltender that takes it, unless it's Joseph Woll that was drafted by Kyle Dubas. But yeah, the 4 is still there, but he's got a lot of work to do around that 4. And that would be the argument as to, I think it's Brad Treliving's team if he adds to that core 4 or changes the look a little bit of it.
Right. He has to change a lot, but I would say Dubas at the deadline did that. Right? Like, Dubas, I thought, had a phenomenal trade deadline. I'll never change my mind on that. But he had a great trade deadline. And, so I guess it's different. You can't answer the question today, obviously. Right. And you're right, Noodles, if Samsonov goes, they get rid of Murray, they bring in a new goalie who stands on his head, and they bring in 3 new defensemen. Okay, then it looks different. You got a different third line, fourth line, or whatever.
Right.
But, if there's going to be a lot of consistency in terms of the main pieces, then – but at the same time, you could argue Dubas was handed these players too.
Right.
He wasn't the GM when Matthews, Marner, Nylander, Riley got here. Tavares fell in his lap day one on the job. So – there's a lot of different ways that maybe you can review it. I'm just saying it's going to have to be a lot of change to feel different if the main pieces are still here. Take one guy out, then it's Brad Treliving's team immediately. I guess that's what I'm getting to.
Okay,
One core 4-piece leaves, now this is Treliving's team. But if the main players are still here, I think that'll be difficult to maybe argue that.